Shalom. Shalom, Yashala. Shalom to the so-called blacks, Latino, Native Indian. Shalom to the so-called African American. Shalom to the so-called Beninese, Nigerian, Ghanaian, the so-called Jamaican, right? The so-called Latino, Mexican, Salvadoreño, and the list goes on and on. Based on your father, all right? Based on your father, right? We are the 12 tribe of Israel. We are the 12 tribe of Israel, right? If this message, right? Your spirit bear witness with this message, with this Bible, right? If your spirit bear witness with everything written in the Bible, from the beginning, from Genesis all the way down to the book of Revelation and Apocalypse, that will make you one of our brother or one of our sister. You got to keep in mind, right? It depends. You can be from any tribe, all right? You can be from any tribe. I can't tell exactly that you from this tribe, you from that tribe. Only the Most High knows it, and Mashiach. You got to keep that in mind, right? Only the Most High knows it. Which tribe you are from exactly, we cannot tell exactly, all right? So that's why the scripture say when you go read it, they say, well, that Mashiach, he will be the one to be able to separate the sheep from the goat. You got to keep in mind, right? He'll be able, he know who are his, which tribe and which word. They know it. The Most High know it. The angels, they know it. But as on our level, man, we say a lot of things which mainly are off. You see, maybe some brothers say, well, because you're African American, then that will make you Judah. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. It's because Judah, Benjamin, Levi is all mixed, brother. So you go to Jamaica, you got Benjamin, Judah, Levi, right? You go to Jamaica, you see Benjamin, Judah, Levi. Now some brother, they teach, they say pretty much straight up that everybody in Jamaica, they just Benjamin. Now I don't believe that, right? I don't believe that, right? I know in Jamaica, you got Levite over there, you got Benjamin, and the list goes on and on. The same thing you go to Brazil. If you go to Brazil, guess what? You got a lot of Judah in Brazil. You got Benjamin. You got Levi. You got to keep in mind, right? You go to Haiti. Some brothers say Haiti, just Levi. I don't believe it. It's a mix, right? Brother were taken from so many different countries from West Africa. So you got to keep in mind, right? So the most important thing, as long as your spirit bear witness with the Bible, as long as you make your spirit, right? Your spirit, your mind, take hold onto this word right here, based on your father, right? You got to make sure it's based on your father. It's based on your father. The man is the one that got his seed. If you don't know it, go read the book of Number 118. Now go in the book of Matthew and read the genealogy. You're going to realize that it's all about the father, the father, the father. Now, in that chapter, in the first chapter, you might see that mentioned about the mother, just to bring some type of detailing, right? But overall, is always the man, because the man is the one that carry the seed. The beginning of the world, or this world on the earth, start with what? Man, you got to keep in mind. All right, so we just want to put out there. Straight up, we're going to dive into this subject, right? You already know, I've already done the chapter 38. It's just I have not posted on YouTube yet. Lord willing, you know, I've been suspended from YouTube for 2 weeks, so I can't post anything. You already know, right? You already know what is going on. We've been oppressed. We've been accused. You know, the Hebrew Israelites been accused. They say we're teaching, hey, we're spreading misinformation, all type of things they're bringing against a real accusation, right? Because the power is in their hand right now. That's why they do all those things, right? Now, when the Most High starts striking and bringing out judgment upon them, then they'll realize that, wow, we should have done this. Even though we want them, we let them know that what they're doing is off. Like me personally, if when they block me, or they suspend me, I don't fight for any petition, tell them, no, man, I'm not going to worship you, point blank, period. I come out, use the platform to teach, to bring out warning to the brother, to our people, the so-called blacks, Latino, and Native. That's all, man. That's all, right? That's all. And we bring out fact, man. We don't want to be hypocrite. The scripture tells we can't be hypocrite. So we bring out, we tell you whatever the Spirit put upon us. That's what we bring out. But guess what? The word that be, the power that be, let's say we teaching, hey, we spreading misinformation, all type of, it's all good, man. You know? It's all good. You know? It's all good. It's all good. So, you know, Lord willing, I'll be able to post it. So I got to move ahead with this, chapter 39, because I got more lesson I got to do. I got to start preparing for lesson concerning the Passover, before the Passover, the couple of chapters I want to address, so brothers and sisters can be aware of what is the real meaning, why we must keep the Passover, right? Why we must keep the Passover, right? It's important. Lord willing, I'll be able to address it if the Most allow me, right? We're going through trials and tribulation. There's some situation going on. You already, there's a lot of going on. But still, we got to stay in the spirit and continue to endure. We got to endure until the end. That's what the scripture says. That's what we must do, brother and sister. So without any further ado, as you see, the conflict, whatever is happening right now, right, throughout the fucking of this earth, you already know what we're talking about, right? You already know what we're talking about, right? The conflict around this world right now is what? Ukraine, right? Is Ukraine, Russia, NATO, NATO, Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great is the United States of America. You all already know, right? Those are the conflict. Those are the things going on right now in the world. So pretty much, all this is happening for the salvation, for the deliverance of the so-called blacks, African American, Latino, Jamaican, Haitian, Beninese. That's the main reason why it's happening. But our people don't believe it. The main reason why you see all this conflict, all these things happening, everybody flexing muscle, North Korea, is a lot going on, brother and sister. Is a lot going on. So this is not the time for ye out there, ye so-called blacks, Latino, and Native, to be sleeping. Right, this is not the time to be doing any foolishness. This is not the time to be doing evil. This is the time that we got to stay focused. We got to think on the Most High. When you wake up, you got to make sure you pray. Right, you got to do the best that you can before you go sleep. You got to pray. If it's possible, you can pray 3 times a day, 4 times, 5 times. Man, brother, do it. All right, do it. It's not because you're praying that you're gonna see the angel, blah blah blah. No, you pray. You ask the Most High to help you, because the elite, they're plotting a lot of things, man. Like I say, Pharaoh Joe Laden, you heard his speech a couple of days ago, yesterday again. He called Vladimir Putin, he called him a butcher, right? He called him a butcher. And then he said he got to be removed from power. There's a lot of going on. You see what I'm saying? So you got to stay, put. Your mind got to be open up. Spiritually, you got to be awake. Spiritually, you got to be awake, right? So you got to keep in mind, we live in a very, very critical time, right? They're talking about famine, because that's what they're plotting, right? That's what they're plotting. They say famine is in the corner. There will be 12 to 18-month famine due to a crisis in Ukraine, in Africa. Imagine that. So you got Ukraine, that is is a small country. Russia is still way bigger than Ukraine. We already know that, right? But you to tell me, because there's a crisis in Ukraine, that crisis is going to affect the food, the thing that the people eat in Africa. Meanwhile, you take a look at the whole Africa. Africa is way too big, and that the land in Africa, just West Africa, is so fertile. The land is so rich, so fertile like that. I don't get a point. I don't get a point. You to come on the TV is a puppet. That puppet, how do you call it? Is Emmanuel Macron, right? That French puppet. He came on the TV, said that there will be a famine that will hit Africa for the next 12 and 18 months. And amid of that, guess what? You see Pharaoh Laden, right? Pharaoh Joe Laden, right? Your beloved Pharaoh Joe Laden. What is he doing? He's taking our tax money. He's taking the poor people, the so-called African American, the so-called Latino and Native, and that struggle day and night. Those whose land were stolen, right? They were murdered. Everything taken away from them, used as a slave, and all type of evil be done to them. They have not pay them for all the evil they have done. But he take the money, innocently, he take the money, right, from here, from us, the money that the people of this country, those that work day and night, waking up early in the morning, breaking their back, going through ton of surgery on the shoulder, surgery on the back, surgery on the hips, surgery on the legs, on the bones. He take the money. He takes so much money and giving it to the Ukrainian. How many times the Ukrainians have been to Africa helping the people where there was a war in Libya, where there was a war in, I would say, Sudan, when Sudan been divided into two, where there was a war in Ethiopia. You see the madness of our people. That's what we tell you, man. Wake up and keep the command. Understand that all this happening is for your salvation. All this happening is for the salvation. The salvation of the Israelites. The Israelites are the so-called blacks, Latino, and Native American. Whether you believe it or not. If you don't believe it, this is not for you. Because watch this. This is what we believe. This is what we believe in. This is what we follow. All right? So if your mind, your spirit is not with this is our main source. This is our main source. Whatever we say, whatever we do every day in our life this day is based on the Bible. We go through the Bible. All right? Right? We might not tell you, but in our mind we're thinking on it. We're thinking on it. Right? We might not tell you, Because the scripture also tells us that we to use wisdom and not to reprove fools or not to reprove people that ain't got no wisdom. They don't want to hear about. Don't reprove them. You got to leave them alone at some point. The scripture also tells us that we got to use wisdom, right? So you got to keep in mind. Meanwhile, if really Africa will be affected, guess what? How come you don't take some of those money that you're talking about, that you're taking right now, just fulling that money into Ukraine? How come you don't take maybe half of that money and have it ready for the people where in Africa? Because all of a sudden the famine will only hit Africa. The famine only will hit Africa. Mainly, that's what they're saying. It will hit Africa and part of Europe. Now watch this. If that famine will hit Africa, how come your money, this money, you don't take that money to go help the brother and the poor people in Africa? How come? Supposedly. You see, that's the hypocrisy of your politician. That's how you know this is Babylon the Great. They play game. They seduce you with word. They use semantics, right? They come on the TV in suit and tie and they tell you a bunch of lies and you believe it. That's why we tell you, wake up. Spiritually, you got to be wake up. You got to be awake, right? You take the money from the people suffering. There's a lot of our people today as we're speaking right now. You know how many of American, I'm not just talking about our people, I'm not talking about African American, and I'm not talking about blacks, and I'm not talking about Latino and anything. You know how many from the Middle East, India, right? Afghanistan, Pakistan. You know how many East European that live here. You know how many of them rely and live on what government aid, the government help, like EBT, free milk, and free this. You know how many of them? Is a tons of them. You know how many of the so-called white people rely on those welfare things in this country? Is a lot of them. And you have to take the food, the money from the people that literally work for it. Those that work, that strive day and night. There's some brother that broke their back. They go through a lot of hell. They got to catch hell right now. Some get fired on me. And then sometimes they don't have enough money to pay for the mortgage. They don't have enough money to pay for the rent. Those ones are not help. And you take the money, you take the food from the people, from their land, from their country, and you go give it to other people. You see, that's how they do justice. That's justice for America. That's what they call justice. Meanwhile, like I say, there was a war, I'll say, in Yemen. Yemen were being bombed by the Saudi, the Qatari, the United Arab Emirates, right? Guess what? You didn't see the so-called blacks, African American. You didn't see nobody get up all of a sudden and say, let us go help the Yemeni. Let us go help the Yemeni. Guess what? Among those Yemeni, guess what? We got Israelites among them. Whether you believe it or not, we have our people among those Yemeni. Yes, we do have Israelites among them. Did you see somebody get up and to go help them, to go collect money and help those people that have been, the hospital being destroyed, you know, the jail being bombed out? Have you seen somebody? No. All of a sudden, we got to go help the Ukrainian. Really? So what about in 1492, where the Native Indians were being butchered, were being slaughtered, right? By the same people that today are playing the same game, running around, the same one that are accusing Vladimir Putin of being bad. These same people, they're the one that came here on this land and butchered the Native Indian. They're the one that butchered and estimated the Native Indian. It's written in history. This has nothing to do with we've had. This is a fact, right? And you can go read about it, right? We got books on it, right? It's called the American Holocaust. Who did it? Who done this? Who murdered these people? Who stole the land? Who pillaged the land and took everything? Raped the woman? Who done it? It's written in this book. I didn't write this book. The American Holocaust. Who done it? Since 1492. Who done it? The same people that are in the NATO today. Is your same French, your same British, your same Italian, your same French, your same Dutch, your same German, and the list goes on. The same people. Same people. You've done so much evil. And all Vladimir Putin is doing, he's just defending his territory. Here in America, you got something you call what? Trespassing. You can't trespass. You can't go to another person's property or house unless they invite you or they tell you to do so. If you do that here in America, in the United States of America, it's called trespassing. You can get arrested, you get charged, you'll be pressed against you until you can find yourself in jail. You can find yourself paying so many fines, or sometimes you can get put to death too, because some of these heathen or these Edomite, you come on their property, even though you are not there to do any evil, they can just pull up the gun and shoot you, right? Because the system, they set up gun for everybody. Everybody got gun in this country. So they can kill you at any time. Right? You walk on their property, they call it trespassing. They can shoot you anytime. They say, well, because he came on my property, they'll shoot you. And they will never go to the jail for that. They will not go unless it's like the Mosai does like a miracle trying to do justice, you know. But if it's only up to them, guess what? They'll shoot you and nothing happens. They say, well, you went on his property, all right? So you were trespassing pretty much. So you got to keep in mind. That's what Vladimir Putin is just defending his territory. Because they got an agenda to overthrow Russia, which they have done back in those days, the way they overthrew the Soviet Union. So Russia ain't just gonna see, even though like we hear a rumor right now, they say they're trying to kill Putin, they're trying to assassinate him, they're trying to poison him, all type of thing. They say, oh, somebody quit and, you know, departed from his government. Listen, man, listen. Even Putin died today, listen, Russia will be in the is in the last prophecy. Keep in mind, Russia is in the last prophecy. Keep in mind, right? What does it make you? What does it sound like? It's to let you understand that, guess what? The European Union won't be in power at some point. Soon, the European Union, they won't be